What's up, everybody? My name is Rick, and these are the Dreadful Minutes. So, if you've seen my last video, you knew this was coming. So, this is basically going to be the vinyl edition of some recent pickups that I've acquired. And yeah, it's going to be a hefty one. But there's some good stuff here. I think some stuff that you might want to look into, worth exploring, etc., etc. Various mix of styles. So you know my bag, you know what I'm about. So I have many leanings. Take that as you will. So let's not waste any time and see what we got here. So I'm going to kick this off with a project I talked about in the last video. It was the very last thing. So I'm just going to just bridge the gap and talk about Starer. Starer, as you guys know, had a full-length album put out this year. But Josh Hines, the guy behind that project, also put out a full-length release last year called 18 Degrees Below the Horizon. And this was put out by Durandak Black Mass, which are based in upstate New York. Starer, based in Kentucky. It's very symphonic black metal. Looking at the cover kind of implies that it's something kind of raw, but you know, it's actually very well produced and put together. I would say my only criticism is that sometimes the synth can be a little overwhelming and kind of drown out the drums a little. I would have liked the drums to be a little more forward in the mix, but other than that, this one's more angrier and darker than the new full length that came out after this one. So it's a very interesting kind of style. It kind of reminds me of the very early Panopticon stuff. If you like the early Panopticon material, it kind of has that vibe, which is pretty cool. Very talented dude. So you know, you can get this through the Durandak Black Mass website or the Bandcamp. Very cool. Also, the latest thing he put out was his lathe cut. I showed the lathe cut last video with the Pro Couture here. So he also put one out. As you guys know, these lathe cuts are very limited, low runs, and this is no different. So a lot of these tend to be assembled by the artists themselves. You know, it's good because it's not mass produced. Everything has a sort of homely, kind of organic kind of feel to it. You know, and I'm a sucker for that stuff. You know, I love. I'm an arts and crafts guy. So this is Remorse Defines Me. So this is a 10 out of 15. So I'm pretty sure these are sold out by now, but I thought it was really cool and worth showing. So it's got yeah, Remorse Defines Me. It's got 3 tracks here, and he included a nice little assembled CDR with a 4th track insertion, which is I thought was pretty badass. So it's all stamped on there. I think this right here is a sticker, and just show you real quick, kind of keeping that imagery consistent, and very cool. I think this is quite it's more intense, and then the you know, the last full length he dropped this year, and I actually like it. I like how dark and angry it is, and you know, overall, being that this is 8-inch, see, it's not a 7-inch like you see a lot of these, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to fit this on the shelf. But it's very cool. This stuff is like plexiglass. Look how thick this is. Holy shit. So I'm not too worried about damaging it. I still gotta watch the grooves, but very cool nevertheless. Included a sticker with his imagery. Little. I guess that's becoming his little icon there. Very cool. You know, like I said, you know, I like these kind of handmade, organically done stuff. You know, the beauty about Bandcamp is that you can do whatever you want, you know, sell whatever you want. You know, this is a band called Pan out of Michigan. You know, they play death metal, very melodic, kind of in the vein of our, you know, early Opeth. You know, it's kind of a lazy comparison. These guys are, you know, they got their own little style and sound going too. especially coming from Michigan, you know, so they got the sort of cardboard stitch stamped thing going on. So this is the Boreal Coast, and it's still up for sale on their site. So if this kind of thing appeals to you, you like that kind of quirky charm to this kind of stuff, they got another one here for driftwoods. And you know, again, these are all made CDRs. You can get regular jewel case run versions of these. It doesn't have to be this edition. These are just limited special runs. So here is this. Like I said, it's pretty cool that they do stuff like this. So yeah, so that's there. Definitely check it out. Very talented guy. If you like this sort of emotive, but yet dark and, you know, exploratory kind of black metal, you know, but still modern in its own way, definitely check it out. Interesting. So this is one I'm pretty excited about. They dropped an EP, was it 2020, 2021, something like that. It was called Colossus, and it got my attention. Like, this is some, some really good shit. And so when I heard they dropped a full length, the Hyperborean, you know, that was a no-brainer. So this is Further Lance. Like I said, the Hyperborean, and I guess it revolves around Greek mythology. 100%. It's very grandiose, quite epic. I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but it's very appropriate for these guys. I think, you know, Doomsword, you know, epic with a bit of that doomy edge, Atlantia Codex, you know. So if that's pitching a tent right now, this is definitely something you should look into. This is a double LP, a gatefold. Again, I love it when they put the lyrics right there. No inserts to worry about. And it's got members, again, these guys being from Chicago, they were involved with a circuit, a bunch of other bands, you know, within that region. I know some of the members played at least live with Satan's Hollow, Midnight Dice, Smolder, you know. So if those names ring a bell, you know, this is for you. So I just went black on this one, and you know, it did need the 2 discs, the 2 LPs here, to fit all that content, all that awesomeness. So definitely check out Further Lance. You know, if you like epic heavy metal, I think this is one of the better bands, US based bands, doing it right now. So very, very cool. Cruz Al Sur, you know, these guys are no joke, man. They know what they're doing. Next up, Golgothan Remains, and this is one that's been shown on various of these kind of channels. So this is one I did pre-order months ago and finally arrived, and you know, was excited. I actually forgot I ordered it. This is one of those deals where, you know, you pre-order it, you know, so far in advance that when it drops, it kind of feels like Christmas. And so this is Adorned in Ruin, and this is a release with Brilliant Emperor Records and Sentient Ruin, which Sentient Ruin, which I know is based in the US. I mean, just soak that in. Very dismal, dreary, just dark, and I just love that whole aesthetic. This is a band I was aware of. Perverse Offerings to the Void, which came out in 2018, was their last album, and it got my attention. It kind of piqued my interest in, you know, what was going on in Australia. So here's the insert. Nice little lyric sheet in the back. Very, very cool. So, you know, being that I was impressed with the last album, you know, the last album, it was very more in lines of bands like Suffering Hour. You know, the riffs are very dissonant. It takes a lot of twists and turns, and but I feel like with this one, it doesn't do that as drastically. I would think that this is probably part of them of the growing and evolving as a band, and just kind of knowing the timing measures and, you know, how to work with those kind of riffs. It's a very delicate kind of style of death metal to play. You know, you're trying to keep things kind of intense and dark, but at the same time adding kind of layers and textures to what you're doing. You know, not too far off from what bands like Ulcerate and Immolation, you know, Incantation are doing. You know, if you're already listening to those bands, and that's the kind of death metal that you enjoy, I mean, these guys are right up along with them. So there's a good reason why they're getting a lot of attention right now. Very good stock here, nice and thick. It's everything kind of just goes along nicely. So I went with the pretty edition, and that is kind of like an electric blue. So I knew right away I wanted this color. So let me go ahead and pull this out, and I mean, just look at that. Very, very cool. So everything went along nice and well, except for one thing. So when I got this in the mail, the first sign of trouble was, remember, it took months for it to get here. So I don't know how long it's been sitting in a hot warehouse or whatever, but it came in this sort of flimsy mailer. So according to this label, it came from New Zealand. Like, could be, maybe straight from Australia, but that was not a good sign. I've gotten stuff that's like the next state over that had a much heftier and bulkier packaging, had a little more consideration. Again, that was my complaint. So when I had and opened it up, remember, I went with the pretty color edition, so I wanted something, that looked good on the turntable. But it came out rather warped. Not too extreme. It's still playable. It's not worth opening a dispute or case about or asking for a refund or anything like that, But, the fact that I went through this trouble and kind of saw that coming and opened it up, yeah, I just kind of, I was a little bummed out about that. But, as it is, it plays fine. It sounds great, for what it is. It's, great band. Another one to keep your eye on, they're just getting better and better. I love this quite a bit more than the last. I love the last album. So this is it's still a step up, which is always a good thing. So Gotham Remains, really cool, kind of complex death metal. You're not going to soak it in all in one spin. This is one of those deals where it's going to take several cycles to really grasp all the little nuances of their kind of sound. But you already know that if you're into bands like Ulcerating Suffering Hour, or even Grave My Asthma and Ghastly, throw a little bit of those touches in there. I feel like they got a little bit of those kind of what you call it, sounds, and kind of was able to envelop those creations and create this release. I didn't realize how close these color schemes. Here the sort of gold brown is more dominant, whereas here the blue is more dominant. Kind of switch things around. Interesting. So this is a band I've actually been following a while. I don't talk about it too much on the channel, and I actually don't see too many channels talk about this band. And so this is Mantar, formed in 2012 out of Hamburg, Germany. And it's a two-piece band, very, very heavy, blackened sludge, with a punk twist, if you will. So they don't have an actual official bass player. So it's just Hanno doing the guitar work, and Eric, I think is how you say it, the drummer. And so this is the latest output. It dropped in July. Pain is Forever, and This is the World. And you would think that's the name, right? So there's the Mantar name here at the back. I like the simplistic kind of art style they went with. And, all their previous albums. So this is a band that's been kind of hopping around different labels. They were on, I believe, Nuclear Blast on the last one. So this is their Metal Blade debut, which I'm not sure why they went with that move, but and this is a band, and they got their own. They really do have their own sound. They really have their own thing going on. So regardless of what labels they hop on, I think the appeal and why these labels, and they do have independently released material too. But they got their own thing going on, and they don't really need to do much to really change their formula really that often, simply because they're moving around different labels. If anything, probably differences in production overall, but as far as their performance. So it came in this cool kind of die cut, which you can probably already tell. And so let me just pull this out. It came in this nice sort of pretty space photo. I mean, look at that. Really, really cool. And here is the other side of it. Nice and shiny and glossy. So, and it's a gatefold. Open the gates that are hidden. Swift with thy sons, who thy law have obeyed. I'm not sure what that's from. If someone in the comments can note that. Is that from Heaven's Gate? Some kind of cult. I'm pretty sure it's probably something along those lines. So I went ahead and went with the red vinyl. It's kind of it's actually like a red or crimson marble. Very, very cool. If you're not familiar with Mantar, like I mentioned, it's quite punky. But I think they're not rooted in any sort of bands that you might think of, like Crowbar or something along the line of a black metal band. You hear a lot of grunge in here. It's like a grunge. Think of like Nirvana in the very early days, that really punky sound. But add in a sense of heaviness, drop tuning, very hoarse vocals. That's kind of Hano style. But it's got a lot of hooks to their sound. So there are moments where you can't help but bob your head. They'll latch on and they'll find some way to get your attention. All their releases are like that. This is the first one that doesn't have a fire theme to their album title. Death by Burning. It came out in 2014. That was when I first got wind of the band. So, I've known about them since the beginning. Ode to the Flame, The Modern Art of Setting Ablaze. That was the big label debut. I know with Death by Burning, they started on Smart Records. But, the fact that they took a nice, interesting journey. They did put out a grunge, I think it's a covers album. So I think that's one of the few pieces of material I don't have yet. So definitely looking to score that one if I can find it somewhere. But very, very good album. Definitely check out Mantar if you're not familiar with them. Very catchy, hooky, punky with a grungy edge, but still just very sludgy and just dirty where it needs to be. And the drumming, man, Eric, I feel like his drumsticks, they must weigh like 10 pounds. I don't know. He must go through, how people go through new sticks after performance and after wearing them out, whatever, or maybe some skins. And I think this guy goes through new drum sets. Everything is just so balls out heavy. He hits very hard, and that's really what they're going with. It's all in your face and very intense. So I don't know if I'm making any sense, but definitely check it out and you'll see what I'm talking about. Mantar. Yes, I got that new Bloodbath. I'm not going to go too much into it because every other channel is talking about this album right now. So this is Survival of the Sickest. There you go. So I just went ahead with the black vinyl. Nice heavyweight gram there. Very, very cool. These guys are sticking to a good formula. I think having Nick on vocals is a very good move. I've been really, really happy with the last one. And, these are, one of the, I would say, the upper echelon of Swedish death metal. I mean, these guys are pretty much a primo example of kind of moving forward and, just being leaders of the pack. Hey, you could say, well, that's kind of cheating because they're a bit of a super group. You are. You got guys from Catatonia, obviously, and so, and whatnot. Very, very cool. The artwork would definitely get your attention. So Wes Benscutter, I think is how you say it. So he's been getting a lot of attention too. He did the artwork for that Autopsy that just dropped too. So I'm waiting for that to arrive. And last time we saw Wes do anything with Bloodbath, I believe it was all the way back on their second album, Nightmares Made Flesh. So you can kind of see how much he's evolved with his artwork. I think this is still great. It's still a great album. This one had Peter on vocals, Tagtrin. So they've had a rotating lineup of vocalists over the years, and all very good. I know some of you may have your particular favorite. Nice group shot right there. The lyrics in the back. You know, very, very great production. You know, everybody's talking about that last track. You know how doomy it is. You know these guys. You know, again, it's like, what can you say? You know, these guys are definitely atop of their game after all these years, still doing it. So yeah, Bloodbath, great album. Let's pull some doom metal. So this is one I've been wanting to get more of their material. I enjoyed Storm Warning. This is a band out of Sweden. I've been playing this sort of style of doom for quite a long time. You could say, you know, mix elements of Candlemass and Black Sabbath, and I know that's a right away you already have these preconceived notions of what that's like. But I feel like this band is does it very well and has a very what do you call it? Has a way of doing it that's very mature and done very proper. A lot of bands who try to attempt this style tend to eventually drone along and get too derivative. And I feel like Count Raven. So this is their 2009 album, Mammon's War. And this is their comeback album after a long hiatus. I believe the last album, which one was it? Messiah of Confusion in 1996. So they broke up for a period there. And so this is a band led by Dan Foundelius, which I think he's the only original member left. This band. So this is pretty much his baby. And this was put up by I Hate Productions. So there's that. The text is not too hard to read. It doesn't show up all that well on camera, but it's actually not too bad. You know, if you see my little rant in the last video. So what's interesting about this is that very, very hooky and catchy. You know, if you like the kind of doom and epic style of Candlemass, you know, but you also like the Iommi school of riffing, you know, this is definitely for you. Some of you may complain because you know, Dan can sound quite a lot like Ozzy. So Ozzy has that sort of register where you either love it or you hate it. And I'd say give it a chance. Definitely check it out. And one thing that I was catching my head about was that, you know, what was going on in 2009? You know, a Black Sabbath, you know, were not even Black Sabbath. They were Heaven and Hell as an entity at the time. And Ozzy wasn't even with the band, you know. So the fact that they had Dio, that was the last thing Dio did with them. And, you know, before Ozzy returned for 13. So in 2009, you know, if you wanted something like an actual Sabbath album with Ozzy, you know, this, what was coming out at the time, this was the closest you were going to get, you know. So I just find it an interesting parallel when Heaven and Hell drops and then this album comes out kind of simultaneously, you know, at the same time. So you kind of got a little bit, your bit of your pick of the litter, you know. So yeah, I'm going to go with Heaven and Hell with Dio, but you know, I kind of like the Ozzy kind of stuff. I'll go with Count Raven. Mammon's War. I'm not saying it's a one-to-one duplication, but this is a very suitable substitute, you know, for what it is. So I'm glad it's in the collection. Though there's one more album that came out last year, and that's the Sixth Storm. So I still need to grab that one. But you know, if you love doom metal, this band's a no-brainer, and they do it very well. You know, I think Dan is doing a good job keeping this project alive and maintaining that quality. So Count Raven, Mammon's War, 2009. Enthroned. So this is a band out of Belgium. So this name should be very familiar with you guys if you've been into black metal for a while. This is a band I've actually just overlooked for over the years and been wanting to get into, but this is one of those deals where, you know, discography has, you know, have basically built up over time. I didn't even know where to start. And so James, which is not based in Australia anymore. I don't know where he is anymore. So he did actually a deep dive, or ranking, should I say. It's more of a ranking video on the Enthroned discography, which kind of really helped me kind of understand how the band has progressed over time. And so I would leave a link to his video, and I think he did a very good job. So his channel is Stormwind79. So I went ahead and started picking up some of the material. But I gotta say, this one here so far is my favorite. So this is their second album. It followed Prophecies of Pagan Fire, and this one is Towards the Skull Throne of Satan. And you're looking at this, you pretty much know what you're getting. What was going on in black metal in 1997? This stuff is very no frills, very punishing. You know, basically blast beats for days. A drummer here is intense. The riffs are very memorable. It's got some keyboard, but very lightly used, just to build some sense of atmosphere. But it took me for a ride. This is a really good reissue. They put out by Back on Black. You know, I know people have criticized their releases in the past, but I had no issue with this. I'm a sucker for a lot of thick stock. I love it when they do that and not skim. Really, really cool. This is when Lord Sabathan was still in the band. I don't think any original members are in the band anymore. So this is back in their real heyday. Their sound has changed quite a lot over the years. So this is still back in their really intense primal period when a lot of stuff was going on in the 90s. You know, a lot of bands were going more avant-garde and changing direction, trying to figure out how to move to a different direction from the second wave sound. These guys just kind of doubled down on that. You know, so you know, if you like the old Dark Funeral, Gorgoroth, even Marduk, you know, this is definitely up your alley if you have not explored them. This is a band I feel like gets overlooked a lot, and you know, although I think as far as quality of the releases, I think it's up there with those guys. You know, very, very good band. So I went ahead and picked up the gray, silver, I'm never sure what to call this, vinyl. Really, really cool. I'll hold the song tracks on one side, and there's that. Love the artwork. I don't know if it's exclusive to this album, but very, very cool nevertheless. So that's Enthroned, and I'm glad to have gotten on that train after decades. Here's a cool little pickup. I found out the record store for relatively cheap price, so I figured it was worth to pick up. And this is Grimoire. So this is a band out of Quebec. It's actually a one-man project. It goes by the name of Fiel, and you may know him from Fortress. So I would say the sound is not too far off already from there, being that, you know, he was their keyboardist. He's also in another band called Csejthe. I don't know. I'll leave a spell in there, and it'll look familiar to you. So if you guys know the what you call that kind of black metal, especially coming from Quebec, you should be familiar with the kind of soundscape they put out. You know, it's a lot of atmosphere, a lot of tremolo riffing. This right here, I feel like it's lot more melancholic, and this is a really good pickup for something like the fall season or autumn. And so this is the only full length he put out. I know there's an EP that came out following this one, but it's been a while since he put something out. Something just fell. So came out with a card with a digital code, but it actually has a the other side of it has a cool illustration. See, this is the kind of details that I appreciate. You know, that it makes you not want to throw out the digital code. So very simple. Just is a printed insert right here with lyrics, but this should appeal to fans who love Fortress, you know, and it's just imagine this with more centered and focused on the keyboards, being that that's his bread and butter. But I think performance, you know, everything is right up to par. I mean, it did not skimp on the quality. So I went ahead and got the gold, which is basically the one they had available. So kind of didn't have a choice, and I'm not complaining. It looks great. It fits the theme just fine. So it's actually, you know, looking around, I'm like, what is this? You know, I saw it sitting in the store. I'm like, it's just something that's relatively hard to find or obscure. I mean, given the price I paid for it, it's actually not that hard to find. So if you look around, you know, you might be able to score copies of this. I know this gold was limited to like 500 copies, but very cool, atmospheric black metal out of Canada. Definitely look into it. I would say start looking for it now before it does start to get scarce. So that's Grimoire. Enthroned, Pestilent Dawn. And this is a band that was recommended to me by this guy. So I definitely trust his recommendations. 34.788% completely. So I grabbed the CD and loved it. But then I went to grab another copy because I wanted to send it along the way to someone else too, who I thought might enjoy it. And then I realized somewhere along the line they dropped a vinyl version of this. And this was not part of their initial release, as far as I know. So I only was aware of the CD. So I said, oh crap. I went ahead and picked up the LP edition for myself. So this was put out by Redefining Darkness. And another thing that sold me too was that it came in this kind of pretty splatter, and the color was just right. So really, really cool. So I'll just put it side by side. Let me look at that thing. So this band, being based out of Jackson, Michigan, they play a very intense style of death metal. I mean, think of so here are these guys. Think of you know, furious drumming. Though I think it's triggered. The guy's still it's insane though. He's really fast in the kit. The riffs are the structure of the riffs are hold your attention. It's very interesting. There's moments of atmosphere. There's an instrumental in here that's pretty good. It's in the middle of the album, so it's a nice break to kind of let you breathe a little bit. Eternity and Morning. You know, I would compare these guys to me initially they reminded me of Morbid Angel, but as I got more and more familiar with the album, you know, I hear hints of Belphegor. Think of those kind of satanic blackened type of death metal bands like Belphegor. You know, so if you like that school of stuff, you know, Behemoth, should I say? Belphegor, Behemoth, even God, hints of Hate Eternal. You know, it's got that kind of production in there. You can hear all those little influences in this. So very cool brand and death metal, very well done. Excellent release. I know they put out an EP before this. I don't have that one, but as far as I know, this is their only full length so far. And I can only imagine it's only going to get much better from here on out. Great band. So, Enthroned, Pestilent Dawn. Here's something a little off the beaten path that some of you may not be familiar with. So this is a Skitliv. This is a kind of a how to describe it. It's a project out of Oslo, Norway, and if I were to say anything noteworthy, it's got Maniac. Yes, Mayhem on vocals. It's got quite a few other members too. I know it's got Nicholas from Shining was involved in this project. Another fella, Tori Morin, I know played with Arcturus for briefly there. So this is Skandinavisk Misanthropy, which I would think translates to Scandinavian misanthropy. Very hateful, very just angry style of doom death. It's very much chaotic, but in a way that's very eerie and unsettling. And if you guys know Maniac and his antics, you know he doesn't hold back on this. So this is a project. This came out in 2009 and had a limited run. And so I shop frequently at Vinyl Altar in Philadelphia. And so talking to Chris, the owner there, you know, kind of was pushing this on me. He goes, you need to check this out. You know, and it turns out he was personally involved in this reissue. So this was the, this, as you could say, it's a 10th anniversary. So this was the 2019 reissue. And so under his own imprint called Black Monk Records. So he ran 300 copies of this in red. And it's a double LP. And here it is in red. It's kind of it's a nice little marbling there. And yeah, this was something that was really enjoyed, but you do have to be in the mood for it. It is very unsettling. It's depressive. You know, think of if you like Bethlehem, you know, you like that kind of stuff, you know, that kind of very just abrasive and dark metal style of dark metal. You know, it kind of defies clear classification. I think this also falls in line with that too. So Skitliv, yeah, definitely worth checking out. I believe you can still buy this. Go through the Discogs on the vinyl altar, and I think he still has copies of this available. That's probably the best way to get it right now. I think Season of Mist was the main label that put this out initially, but I think they're sold out of it as far as I know. So yeah, Skitliv. So this is a relatively new band I'm pretty excited about, actually. And I picked up this special edition from Decibel. They had a limited run of the sort of, I guess you can call it bone white vinyl. And so this is Spirit World with Pagan Rhythms. I'm going to just spare you a lot of, you know, clumsy description and just read the hype sticker here. Pagan Rhythms is a ritual of relentless apocalyptic vibrations summoned from the savagery of the American West. Las Vegas, riff gods deliver an instant classic on their debut. So this is, like I said, their debut album based out of Las Vegas. So there, it kind of explains a bit of that sort of a Western kind of twang thing they have going on here. To me, this sounds like hardcore with a lot of bite. You know, a lot of intense, very memorable riffing. You know, I know I've been saying that a lot, you know, but you know, if hardcore is not usually your forte or something you shy away from, it's just not your taste. This has just enough of that metal side, you know, enough of that moments of Slayer like riffing and stuff going on that to hold your attention. As you can tell here from the imagery, these guys don't definitely hold a convention of what you would think a lot of hardcore bands would portray. These guys have a nice theme going with the whole demonic thing and all that. It actually came with 2 inserts. So, you know, you got this with the lyrics and credits and whatnot. And then you had a nice print of It's Just a Spirit World. So, really cool that they went the extra mile to do this. So, here's the LP. So, like I said, it came out in 2021. And this has been making a lot of noise. You know, people have been talking about this particular release, and for good reason, and just in time too. So if you check this out and you really enjoy it, they're actually about to drop another album called Death Western. So I got that on pre-order and looking very forward to it. You know, to describe these guys, you know, here's the best way to put it. It's kind of like, imagine, take From Dusk Till Dawn, right? But instead of Mexico, you know, put them in, I don't know, put them in a desert somewhere in Nevada. And instead of demons, or should I say vampires, instead of vampires, you have demons, right? But think of Deadites from Evil Dead, right? So Nevada desert, Deadites, and instead of Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney, you have Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction. And the house band, instead of Tito and Tarantula, you know, you got these guys. Right? It's probably the best way I can describe it. You know, so if you were in that sort of apocalyptic kind of events, I don't know, like how would I deal with that? Kind of makes me, I wonder.
So, what's the plan?
Right. We take Killing for Company, Kellen's car.
Hey!
We go over to Metal Madness 66, Geoff's house. We go in, deal with his deadites infestation. Then we grab Geoff.
Gee, thanks, guys.
Then we go over to Let's Talk Metal, Alan's place, have a cup of tea. Then we wait for all this to blow over. Yeah, it would probably go along something like that. So that's Spirit World. Definitely check them out. From Ashes Rise. And this is Silence. And this is their second album. This is a reissue by Southern Lord Records. And they decided to include this sort of, I guess, not really an obi, just a side strip. And it's just a little blurb talking about 20 years of the album. Really cool reissue. And this is one that I've actually been seeking. I've been kind of casually scouring the record stores for a copy of this, and so I just settled on this reissue. Have their debut, which is self-titled, really good. So to describe these guys, so a lot of you who follow that sort of dark crust scene, you know, this is a name that you'd be already familiar with. This is a band that started out in Tennessee, along with bands like Tragedy, His Hero's Gone. So if you know that kind of that dark crust, even neo crust style of punk, hardcore punk, this is another album from that time period. So this came out in, I want to say 2000, along those lines. This band had a rotating cast of members coming in. You had got people from Tragedy. At one point, I know their early stuff. Steve Austin, I know, was involved with the recording from Today Today. Also recorded with this band at some point. So really cool to have this. And another one that's I don't know, like if this is your flavor of stuff, you like that dark and style of crust punk, you know, think of bands like Dystopia, you know, if that's up your alley, I don't see why you wouldn't like this. If this you've been searching for this, definitely worth checking out this reissue. It is remastered, so you get some better fidelity. I haven't actually compared the two, the original and this pressing, to kind of get an opinion on it. I just know it sounds great to my ears. So when I got this record, you know, it said side C and side D. So I didn't seem like this should be in double LP. So I'm like, something wasn't adding up. Am I missing? The tracks seem to be all here. But it turns out that if you get the debut, that starts with side A, side B. So instead of you know, going back to A and B for the next album, they just continued on to C and D. That was confusing as shit, but eventually I figured it out. So from Ashes Rise, so another cool pickup and one that I've been looking out for. I don't know if I've talked about St. Vitus at all on this channel. This is I guess doom band based out of LA. So this is Mortal Cries, came out in '88. So this is a pressing I picked up, put up by SST Records. And look at that picture. Got that sort of Slash style top hat going on. So this is, as a lot of you would know, this is the Wino era release. So this followed Born Too Late and preceding V or 5, whatever you want to call it. Really good album, really good era. Although you know, you could choose your Scots that you like. You know, as far as this band is concerned, I know that Wino was just getting the Obsessed going again. You know, when he was still in this band. You know, so he would last for one more album after this, and then COD, and then, you know, and Riga will come back with Die Healing. So this album is such a downer, man, but in a way that's kind of the way you would expect. These guys were defying convention at the time. In '88, everybody was going glam and getting angrier, more faster. And these guys were completely doing the opposite, following that Sabbath kind of pentagram formula of doom, and doing it very well actually. But this whole album feels like I've never done heroin, but it feels like you're coming off of heroin and you're about to hit withdrawal and you're just feeling like shit. These guys kind of capture that mood. The theme on this is kind of follows a little more of that fantasy element, which is kind of unique for this particular release. Dragon Time, is one of those songs. Bitter Truth, The Troll, Looking Glass. So it's just 6, 7 tracks, something like that, which is it's not a very long record. But so it just gets in, gets out, just the way it should be. Very stripped down, but very it's got a lot of attitude, and I don't know, enjoy it very much. So I just got this on black, right here. Very cool. So I've been wanting this on vinyl for a while. I got it on CD, and with this kind of a raw and stripped down and just kind of classic style production, I knew this is something that I knew would sound good on my turntable. So St. Vitus. This is a cool reissue. This band's kind of obscure. It's a crossover thrash called Mission of Christ. So these guys are from British Columbia. So they're Canadian. This is their Silence and Grave. I guess you can call it a compilation. Their material. So here's the band. And this stuff is another one. It's pretty intense and very raw. Not a whole lot of polish to it. And it also came with a bonus 7-inch here, Realms of Evil. I love that logo. It kicks ass. So it's got, here's the 4 members, and really cool. The thing is, this band never actually released a full length. Never got the opportunity to. I know this guy here, Randy, was shot and killed by police, I think back in '90 at some point, and they were assigned to Metal Blade at some point. So that must have been a really exciting time, to hop on board. But then Capitol Records, I think, was involved in kind of acquiring Metal Blade, or a portion of it at some point. I'm not sure exactly. But they decided they went for the big purge, and unfortunately this band was part of that purge, and they never got off the ground. And so all we have is this material, to kind of enjoy from that snapshot of that time period. Also got this pretty cool booklet and images of some of their shows, and I can only imagine, man, how awesome and intense their live shows might have been. These guys look like they had a lot of energy, and it was a lot of fun to go to, and really capturing that spirit. I'm not sure what was going on in Canada at the time, especially back in '88. Bands were, I know in the US that this kind of style was not, it was really hard to figure out how to market this and really push this band in a certain direction, being that they had a sort of that crossover kind of sound. It was really hard to put this band kind of in that mainstream, just because of just simply for the material they were playing. So we never got a chance to experience what a good, proper studio album would have been like for these people. But I can only imagine how, they would have evolved, had they stayed together. Really, really cool. I think it's Christian themed. I don't follow the lyrics too closely. Vocals are very, in your face, and the thrash is, it's got a good attack. Very cool. If you like DRI, Suicidal, even those bands, for a period, started out very punky, and eventually, some of them went to a more metallic kind of sound. These guys kind of sort of hit the nail. They kind of, you can kind of draw a line between that crossover and thrash, and it's got a nice mix of both styles. So yeah, Mission of Christ, Silence Engraved, definitely worth the pick up. A really good snapshot of this time period. It's just unfortunate that things kind of went south for various different reasons, and we never able to see some studio material from them. Did Dreadful just pull a Bloodbath album? Yes, I did. This band gets a lot of flack. I understand why. They're a very particular moody kind of band. People who are fans of this band and follow this kind of style of music. I'm a very moody guy. I'm ebb and flow. There's a really jolly, and some days I just feel like shit, and it could be at a moment's notice. And this album, I think it's really good for this time of year, especially when with autumn kicking in and things just getting colder, and you want to put on some of the more depressive, in this case, more post-black kind of stuff. So this is their album, Loather. It came out last year, and I gotta say, Star Mourner and a few other the albums before then didn't quite hold my attention. And again, I understood why this band got a flag, and they had some controversial beginnings, and so here's this is a nice gatefold. And so I saw this sitting there, and you know what, let me give these guys another chance, kind of just see how this kind of stuff comes together. And besides, that artwork is just killer. So they got me there. And this vinyl also came in this nice kind of black swirl. Look at that. And I gotta say, I've checked out their previous stuff, and it's not nearly as strong as this album. This is easily, in my opinion, their best material to date. It's kind of like, this is a band that's learned a grand lesson and learned a few tricks along the way and put out a great album. I like this very much. So, if you've been avoiding Bloodbath, or just because of what people have been saying or whatever, check it out for yourself. Make your own objective opinion. Actually, will it be your most favorite thing in the world? Probably not. But for what it is, and if you're in that kind of mood, I think this is some really good material. Again, if you're like Austere or Woods of Desolation, and that kind of stuff is up your alley. Even like that Grimoire I showed earlier, like you just like that kind of melancholic, moody, sometimes depressive, but also explores a bit of that ethereal side, and just in this case, post-metal, non-convention. This is definitely a release worth checking out. So there you go. Yes, I'm showing a Bloodbath album. I think I'm gonna make this the last one for tonight. There is quite a bit more stuff I can show, but this is a long video, and so why not end it with something kind of cool? It's October, it's Halloween month, so why not put on some good old horror themed death metal? So this is Tenebro, and based out of Italy. This is their debut full length, Il Inizio di un Incubo. I mean, that cover alone should just tell you what you're in for. I mean, this is some real Fulci love. Though they don't sound like Fulci. These guys, which I suppose are a two-piece, they dropped a killer EP. I found out about this band from Liberace del Male, I think was their EP. And that one kind of gave me a hint of what their sound is like. But listening to this full length, it kind of changed my opinion a little, just because, see, when I checked out their EP, it's it had all the sound samples, it had a lot of mortician worship, and I gotta say, this one still has some of those sound clips and things like that going on, which is pretty common actually for horror themed death metal. So this is stuff that focuses on that chunky riffing, very what do you call it, just meaty. And although this one doesn't have the apparent mortician style of what do you call it, of texture, like the way the EP did. You can tell they've matured in the past 2 years and kind of grew their sound. But this is for people who want chunky style of death metal. It just something kind of kooky and fun, and so really great debut, and one I haven't seen too much around in the YouTube circuit. Definitely worth exploring. Great band. So yeah, great debut full length, and looking forward to seeing more from this band. So they haven't really put too much in this package. It's just a single sleeve and cool little illustration there, and then the nice scribbled out lyrics there. Good luck trying to read that. So and I just got this in black. I believe there's an orange variant of this. I think as far as I think that's the only other color option you get here. So definitely worth looking into. So I'll leave you guys with that. So this concludes the Dreadful Vinyl Collection update, and I want to do another one of these really soon. And just because, I got quite a bit of stuff and want to talk about it, and holiday season will be here soon enough, and people will be shopping, and discounts will be applied, and people will be scurrying off to find some new things. So I enjoy all you guys' recommendations, all the people I'm subscribed to, and it's just a really nice community, and everybody just finds stuff around each other. Really, that's what this is about. Reason why I do these updates, so it's enjoyable to just seeing people's comments, and love the feedback, and if I can kind of just guide someone along the way to finding a good release, that's really awesome to hear. Also, same way here, like that Enthroned, thank you, James, for helping me get back into the bandwagon, and and exploring this band again, which I'm kind of kicking myself because I'm like, I knew about them for years, but I've never really, for some reason or another, just kind of overlooked them. And so I'm recording this on Bandcamp Friday, so there's some stuff in the card I need to address. So I'll catch you all in the next one, and definitely keep it dreadful.